So I've been a while since I've been doing videos like this, screen capture shit, but this one right here says, Twitter suspends Spanish politician for saying a man cannot get pregnant. That's, I guess, a picture of the dude. This story is on thefederalist.com. I'm sure that if I do a quick Google search, and you can do one too, you'll see that it's probably not the only place that the story exists on. Now, I have not read this story. I don't need to read it. All I needed to do was see the name of the title. This fits into my the theme of the video, which is what all this LGBT shit is about. If you're a religious sort, if you believe in the biblical God, this is going to start making a lot of sense to you, although it should. If you can go back to Sodom and Gomorrah, you can probably figure out that we've turned we turned full circle. You want to say that, but if you go back to some of the Roman emperors and stuff, and some times in France and different Sweden, and just different areas of the world, you can see that the sexual deviance has gotten out of hand from time to time, and obviously in the Bible it exists, and there it talks about it and condemns it and whatever. Coming back up to modern day, back in the early 1980s, I read a book by a woman named Constance Cumby. It was called Hidden Dangers of the Rainbow. If I remember, I'll put a link where you can get you can basically download it for free off of an archive site. I think she turned it over to the public domain because it's there and it's been there for some time. And usually if it's public domain, they just let you download it at will. If it's not public domain, they'll let you rent it for like an hour or 24 hours or a week. Or there's a rental kind of a thing, like a checkout, like a library would be if otherwise. Anyways, this book, it's not too long. I mean, you can get through it pretty quickly. And when I read it back in the 80s, I remembered bits and pieces. All this time later, I've gotten to read it again here lately, and it's really striking what she was talking about going on back then. I was studying cults and religions back in the early 80s, and so the New Age was one of those things that came up on my radar, and so that's part of the reason why her book came up, was she was studying the New Age as well. And when someone mentioned, I talked to him about studying the New Age and Buddhism and Hinduism and Islam and just every religion you can think of, plus a bunch of Christian cults. Just trying to understand, some of the basics of what people believe and why they believe it, and why man is even if they don't have the truth, they're reaching out for something beyond themselves. Trying to understand a broader picture of what the state of man is. The New Age movement is the thrust of the book, Hidden Dangers of the Rainbow. And she covers a lot of ground where they kind of are similar to the Nazis in World War II. The Nazis had their Hitler had the Aryan race. This perfect race of people. They were supposed to be, I don't know, maybe more evolved or something. The perfect race. That's kind of what we're going for. The New Age movement is actually kind of the same type of thing, in that they believe that that there is a subsect of man that is evolving or has evolved beyond Homo sapien, and they call this Homo Noeticus, Noeticus, Homo Noeticus, and it is, I'm going to say step. Don't get all shitty on me about using the word step, because, and the reason I'm saying this is because some little other dickweed just was blowing a gasket because I used the next step in human evolution. It doesn't go in steps. Okay, we all know how evolution supposedly works. There is a leap, whatever you want to call it, whatever the hell you want to call it. They're saying that Homo Noeticus is more evolved than Homo sapien. Sorry, but I spent a week arguing with this moron, and I'm a little touchy about the semantics bullshit. You know what I'm talking about. I don't have to use. It wouldn't have mattered what word I used or how I would have phrased it. He would have found something to, because he didn't like the idea that I'm telling me he's full of shit. So Homo erectus is supposed to be the more evolved than Homo sapien, and one of the symptoms, probably the biggest symptom that they're looking for, is that they have evolved beyond the male-female paradigm. I'll show you a video here in just a second. Okay, if you see the one right there with the little young man, or the young man with the little flower bouquet there wrapped around his cranium, that's the video you want to watch from 8 years ago. Now, in the book, Hidden Dangers of the Rainbow, she makes, I know at least one brief reference to Homo erectus. I believe she mentions it again, and I believe she may mention about how they are supposed to be more evolved. I've read so many books, it's hard to keep track if that's the one I read or that's the article, if I didn't read it in an article or somewhere, but I believe that that's the book she was talking about them being more evolved. But she does mention Homo erectus, and so I got curious this time around when I read it. And back in the early 80s, we obviously didn't have the internet as it exists today. So I was not able to just jump online and do a bunch of research on it and see stuff like this video right here. I would have to go to the library, and God knows, if you know the old library system before the internet, it was not easy to track stuff down a lot of times. It's hard to cross-reference stuff. There might be the mention of the Homo erectus in a book that's not even about Homo erectus that may be some information, but you'd never be able to track it down. Now you can just punch in the words and do a search and search entire books for that specific phrase. In this video, this young man, about halfway through the video, somewhere around halfway through, he starts talking about how they basically are, and I'm paraphrasing, they have basically grown beyond, they have evolved beyond the male-female paradigm. And this is why you're seeing all this today. The point of this video is to say you wonder why they're so focused. You wonder why they're going so nuts about this guy saying a man can't get pregnant. So why would you suspend a man for saying that a man can't get pregnant? How does that even make sense? Because of this right here, Homo erectus. The way this ties in is they believe that they have evolved past the male-female paradigm, past the limitations of male and female, the absolutes of male and female. And they use the bullshit of like hermaphrodites, how hermaphrodite might have both sex organs, male and female. So they'll use that as saying, see, this is proof. This is proof that, men and women aren't absolute male or absolute female. They can be anything in between. And then so you take that and you add to the spiritual aspect of say evolution beyond the male-female paradigm, because the New Age movement is very spiritual. And if you watch this video, you'll start seeing that he is kind of, we're not just talking about the physical world here. We're talking about the spiritual aspect of the human being. Well, it all leads, if you read, I really think that if you read Constance Cumby's Hidden Dangers of the Rainbow, and she's got another one, A Planned Deception. I don't like that one quite as well. The Hidden Dangers of the Rainbow, Coming Age of Barbarism or something like that, I think is the full title. She thought that this was all going to happen years ago, and I will grant her this, that at the end of the 90s, there was a video, or a commercial that was talking from IBM about that basically was like the mark of the beast kind of a thing, where there was a man walking through the store, and I've actually got it up on my my YouTube channel. Guys walking through a store and just picking up random things, and at the end of his trip through the store, you think that he's stealing everything, and the security guard comes up behind him and says, "Sir," and the guy turns around like he's busted for shoplifting, basically, and the security guard says, "Your receipt," and hands him a receipt. It knew what he bought, it knew who he was, it knew how to take his money out. Mark of the beast. buying and selling without the mark. In order to know who he was, he had to have had some kind of identifying mark or device like a RFID chip inside of him to know who to take the money from, correct? This was an old IBM commercial talking about how easy it would be to shop. That was 20 years ago, a little over 20 years ago. So there's a timetable here that I believe that they've tried to keep. And the proof of this is that the agenda used to be UN Agenda, United Nations Agenda 21. Well, they must have fallen behind, and now they're UN Agenda 2030, and it all ties together. If you'll read the book, you'll see that it ties together, because when you read the book, you start seeing that the people that are doing this, that are involved in all this homo nauticus and involved in all these little details, are literally these tree huggers. They're the tree huggers. They're the people that want the world to be some little hippie, tree-hugging, loving, 70s kind of sexual orgy, you know what I mean? And it all ties in together. When you read Constance Cumby, Constance Cumby's book from 40 years ago, early 80s, and when you read that and you tie in to today, you start seeing the connections. Like, she pegged it. The woman pegged it. She thought it was going to happen back then. It's taken a while, and even they have had to up their game from 2021 to 2030. It's now UN Agenda 2030. But if you look at something like the Findhorn Foundation, if you want proof that it's connected, if you look at the UN Agenda 2030 and how it's all about this hippie tree-hugging shit, and then you look at one of the entities, one of the things inside the book that she wrote, which was called the Findhorn, 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 one word, Foundation. It's still in existence. It's still over there in Scotland. It's a bunch of tree-loving hippies that want to, be at peace with the whole world. Another connecting factor here is, and you can call this conspiracy theory all you want, Findhorn is still there. UN Agenda 2030 is there. Something called the Georgia Guidestones, it's there. That you read those 10 things on the Georgia Guidestones. It's like in 8 different languages. Somebody paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to have this built back in the 80s, I believe. So if you take the Homo Nauticus and what they believe, and then you tie it in with her book and the UN Agenda 2030, and then you look at the Georgia Guidestones, you start seeing that there is somebody's behind the scenes here that wants this stuff pushed. Now you start seeing why did a man get suspended off of Twitter for saying that a man can't get pregnant? Doesn't that sound absurd to you? A man got suspended for saying that a man can't get pregnant. So they suspend him for 12 hours. Hate, harassment, violence against people based on race, blah blah blah. And I'm on a 30-day suspension myself I could show you, and you would think that it's laughable what Facebook suspended me. But Twitter has permanently banned me for not shit like this, but political stuff. Well, I guess this is political stuff. If you want to know why the world seems like it's going crazy, banning people over saying that men cannot be pregnant, a biological fact. You look to Homo Nauticus, you look to Constance Cumby, how she did a really good job. She does a really good job in the book. And I guess this is a plug for her book, Hidden Dangers of the Rainbow by Constance Cumby. I'll put a link down in the description where you can get it for free, download it. It must have been, like I say, in the public domain. She did such a wonderful job tying it all together, and now we're literally seeing it come to pass. If you want to know why all this LGBT and this trans shit's being pushed so heavily, here's your answer.